What is the future of comics? I don't know. People are always asking me, what is the future of this or what is the future of that? Hell, if I knew what the future of 2 minutes from now would be.
Your business is telling us.
No, my business. I said, my business. I'm a professional liar. That's what I do, man. I make up whatever comes to mind. Yeah, I'm not bad at it, but I don't know anymore. I mean, anybody's opinion anywhere is just as good as mine. So they always say about science fiction writers, they predict the future. That's horsepucky. That was a thing that they put on writers because the magazines were the bastard child of literature. You know, they were pulp magazines with women in brass brassieres and bug-eyed monsters, you know, lumbering after. No one ever stopped to think, you know, what would he do with her once he got her, you know? And so they said, well, yeah, this stuff may be crap, but we predict the future. We predicted night baseball and the submarine and all of that. And if you stop to look at it, nobody was really predicting anything. There were 10,000 science fiction writers all predicting wildly, shotgunning in all directions, so occasionally they hit one or two things. So, of course, something went right once in a while. But if you stop to look at it, nobody in the entire field of science fiction predicted that the government would be the ones to put rockets in space. Even Robert Heinlein, the great seer, the great sage of the future, Heinlein had the man who sold the moon. You know, he had him build it in his backyard out of tin cans or some shit like that. And no one ever thought it would be a government project. If they were so damn smart, how come they didn't think of it? The only person who thought we would be watching the moon landing on television was Arthur Clarke. He was the only one. No one else ever thought of it. They said, oh, yeah, it's so obvious. I don't know what the future holds for anything, not even myself for tomorrow. Comic books.
What do you predict?
What do I predict? That there will be an enormous implosion very shortly within the next year, and the naked greed that has manifested itself in the comic book market in the last 5 years will result in the bankruptcy of an enormous number of companies. Because nowadays, nobody even invents a good comic, a single good comic. They bring out a comic that's really terrific. They work their buns off on, you know, good stories and good art. Now it's a universe. Let's have a universe. The arrogance, the mad, demented lunacy of these god figures like Jim Shooter. Yes, it's my universe, you know. I created this universe. And people talking about it. And 51 comics come out all at once, all of whom, each one of which features a muscle-bound imbecile who likes to break people's backs for no particular good reason, and you can't remember their names. And they all got names that are adjectives: surge, prong, thrust, slop, you know. And they're boring, they're imbecile, they are callow, they are adolescent, they are wrong-headed, and they're stupid. There isn't. They all come in. I get all the comics. I get everything on comp. It comes in. I look at this. I look at that. I try to read as much as I can. I try and keep as current as I can. I read a lot of stuff. Apart from Neil Gaiman's Sandman, apart from Paul Chadwick's Concrete, apart from Jim Hudnall's Streets currently, which is a nice book, a few others. Most of it is just, it goes through you like beats through a baby's backside, and the casual violence. I mean, you look at the reign of the Superman, right? The crazy cyborg Superman destroys what is, in essence, Los Angeles. I mean, they call it Coast City, but in essence, it's Los Angeles. 5 million people. Was it 5 or 15 million people? How many is it? 7 million. 7 million people are vaporized like that, and not one person laments them. There's a word balloon every once in a while saying, my friends are buried here. Fuck you, Green Lantern. You know, go find another friend. I mean, men, women, and children are vaporized, and there is not that much concern for it in these comic books. It's a dodge. It's just, yeah, let's wipe out a city. Let's wipe out a city? That's like watching a TV show in which someone has been murdered and people stand around and talk over the body. Has anyone ever actually been in the presence of a dead person? Do you have any idea what it smells like? Do you have any idea what it feels like to be in the presence of a dead person, for God's sakes? Automobile accidents. You ever see an automobile accident? People are nothing but a baggie full of blood. When that car hits, boom, the inside of the car is spread nice and evenly with the guts and brains of people who are inside. Car accidents on TV are like, yeah, he must have died. Look at that. You know, and I see it in comic books, and I say, it, as Gully Jimson said in The Horse's Mouth, it's not the dream I had. And what do I predict? I predict that it'll eat its own foot off. Like a wolf trapped, it'll eat its own foot off. Because no one is saying halt. The image stuff, pretty to look at, nothing more than that. I mean, the essence of non-reading, of non-collecting, is Lee Tennant, this entrepreneur, publishes a limited edition of Stupid, number 1, I guess it was, in a sealed bag, It's air sealed, or it's hermetically sealed with a numbered thing inside, and you cannot open it. If you open it, it destroys all the value. And it's like $60 or $50, something like that. And he called me, but he wanted me to sign one of these things. I said, you got to be crazy to think I'm going to sign one of these. I said, I despise these things. He says, you'll make a lot of money. I said, you don't seem to understand. Money is nothing to make for me. I can make money. Money's the easiest thing in the world. Money is what they give you when you do your job right. Money is bullshit. Money is what they pay you to keep you quiet and keep you in line, keep you working at a job you don't like. That's all money is. Screw money. I can always make money. I said, I despise what you do, man. I said, that comic could be blank inside there, and no one would ever know because they're not allowed to open it. When I see that kind of stuff, and I see River Group doing these damn chase cards where you buy the plasm, first of all, Jim Shooter says there will be no gimmicks with Defiant Comics. No gimmicks, just good stories. No gimmicks. The first issue of the goddamn comic is nothing but cards, and when you buy all the cards, then you got to buy the binder. Then when you buy the binder, you find out that you haven't bought the back cover. You got to buy that. Then you find out that there's a second level of cards. You got to buy 4 of those. Then you find out that in addition to the 4, there's an extra one which comes only in a tin that's $90, which you buy the whole set of cards again a year later. The hell do they think they're doing here? This is naked greed of the most egregious sort, and they're doing it to children, for God's sakes. Well, also pinheads who buy all that stuff. I mean, adult pinheads, but children too. Kids, I did a commentary on Sci-Fi Buzz about trading cards, and I said it's bad enough hoodwinking adults, but when you collate this stuff and nobody can get a complete run of a card set, I said you are lying to children who have saved up their money to buy $25 box of damn cards. And Skybox got very upset with me. Skybox got really, they said, our collation is the best in there. They said, no, it isn't. I said, I bought 4 boxes from 4 different parts of the country of the Marvel 4 set. I said 1/3 of each one was missing. Out of 370 cards, whatever the hell it was, I was missing 60. That's 1/3 exactly, in 4 boxes from 4 different parts of the country. Don't tell me your collation is good. So I did this thing in which I really tore them I can't have this on TV, but I tore them a new fundament, and they got very upset with me. We're not going to send you any more cards. I said, oh God, not the briar patch, please, anything but that. What do I predict? I predict that there is a canker on the rose, that there is a hungry spider at the middle of this web, and people are just going to get sick of it. The world does not need 14 different X-Men books. It does not need 13 different Spider-Man books. It does not need that man sitting on television on the comic book show and talking about this stuff without any sense of discrimination.
Hey, I talk with discrimination.
I watched your show. You hyped all of it.
No, I didn't. I picked the
Oh,
books
I'm
I
sorry.
liked.
Well, your argument has won me over. I'm turned around. I just watched it this morning. What are you telling me? I'm out of my mind?
I didn't hype every book. I told the books that I liked.
So you hyped every book that you talked about.
No, I talked about the books that I liked. I picked 10 books that I liked.
And you praised all 10 of those books.
Those 10, yeah.
Now, how many books did you say, this is a rotten book and they should stop publishing it immediately?
On that particular episode, none.
Ah, so I'm not wrong.
I didn't say.
Okay. Here I am busting the chops of the guy who's going to do a program, right? He comes down here to interview me and he thinks I'm going to be a sweet guy. I'm not a sweet guy.
I read your books. I already know.
You already know that. Thank you. This one too. Everybody's standing. I'm sorry I keep you waiting.
Well, we've talked a lot about the evils of the industry. Is there any good anywhere?
Sure, there's always good. There are a lot of wonderful, talented people, older people and younger people who are doing terrific work. Not so many of the old ones, because for the young ones, thank you. For the young ones, they have no sense of cultural history, no sense of nostalgia, no memory. They want everything that looks. They want things that look. They want things that look like Liefeld and Jim Lee and McFarlane, and they don't want anything that looks like Doug Wildey. Although Doug Wildey is a fine artist, and Rob Liefeld needs lessons in anatomy. It's a field where its notable talents are not honored the way they should be. Men and women who, well, it's all, see, first of all, nobody ever talks about this, but the comic book industry from its very start was programmed to make cowards out of the people who practice it. From Simon & Schuster on, everybody was always made afraid. If you don't do what we tell you, work for hire, you're out of a job and you'll never work in this industry. There was always the 2 big monolithic companies, Marvel and DC, and if you pissed one of them off, you only had the other one to go to, so the other one knew it was getting you for nothing. That's what I hated about Jim Shooter. When he was the editor at Marvel, he bullied people who had no place else to go. Denny O'Neil, on the night before he was going to have a heart bypass surgery, a balloon opened in angioplasty, for God's sake. Jim Shooter called him and said, "You got to have the story in tomorrow. You got to have the story." And he called me in L.A. and said, "Will you write it for me?" And I said, "Sure, I'll be happy to." So they let him off the hook, and he went. He had his operation. Then when I wouldn't sign the work for hire thing, he's recuperating in the hospital, and Shooter calls him and says, "We're not going to use the Ellison. You're going to have to write this overnight." The man is lying in a goddamn hospital bed, Flower and Fifth Avenue Hospital in New York, and Jim Shooter is telling him that his fucking deadline. Sorry, I shouldn't have said fucking. Shouldn't have said deadline. His deadline was more important to him than a human being in pain. I was doing a thing for Mirage. I'm doing an introduction for a stupid Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle book. You know, I like them, and I like Peter, and I like Kevin. So I'm doing this introduction, and I had a heart thing. And I wind up in Cedars-Sinai, getting my right coronary artery unplugged, and Deborah Toffoli from Mirage calls me and says, "Where's our introduction?" I said, "I beg your pardon? I'm in a hospital. I got a tube up my arm." And she says, "Where's the introduction?" I said, "I'm in a hospital, lady. That's where you called me. You had to go through a hospital switchboard to get to me." "Yes, I know, but we've got the printer and we got the schedule." I said, "First of all, Mirage has never been on time with a book yet. In the history of the universe, Mirage has never been on time." I said, "And if this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle anniversary book comes out 3 weeks later, this will not set back the course of Western civilization very much." And she says, "Well, you know, that's not very professional." I said, "And you're a very mean-spirited lady. Go away. Go suck an egg." And I hung up on her. So eventually I did the thing, and they never gave me a thank you. You know, nothing. I just sent it in, and they ran it, and that was the end of it. And it's gone. Nobody even read it. Nobody cares about it. It's an industry that has been based on transigence and transitory need. Here today and gone tomorrow. You throw it out. Your mother threw this crap out. That's what it was all about. So it couldn't be worth anything. So artists were always made to feel that they were insignificant, that what they did was unimportant. No one ever said to them, "You are producing American literature. You are producing a Native American art form, something that has intrinsic worth because it is one of a kind. The rest of the world imitates it and lauds it and honors it." There's no stamp with Milton Caniff on it. There's no stamp with Crazy Cat on it. I mean, they're finally getting around to Elvis Presley and Clyde McPhatter, whom I could live without, let me tell you. But no comic book stamps.
Not on the artist gallery. You better keep signing.
I am sorry. See, you get me talking, and I'm sorry.
On the artist gallery, Jay Disbro and Irvin Hassan are sitting there with nobody lined up at their tables. That was the bad news. The good news is Mort Walker's got a line a mile long for the first time in a long time.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So it was very, very hard.
Irwin's a good artist.
And did more stuff than anybody could shake a stick at.
Yeah. I'm glad to see Martin O'Dell back.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
By the way, thank you for letting us put you on the spot for doing that little deal at the Golden Age Ring in San Diego. I know you were a little nervous about it, but you did great.
Well, if I'm blind me.
Because you care about what they do.
Yeah, that was the only panel I went to at that convention. It was a panel filled with my heroes.
Mine too.
Yeah. They really succored me in my. I mean, I feel left out because I was never a sexually abused child. I mean, I feel somehow that I've been. Also, a gay guy has never made a pass at me. Consequently, I have no fear of homosexuals. I feel left out in some way, I don't even remember what the hell I was starting to say. My childhood was the usual bullshit childhood because kids beat the crap out of me. I mean, that's what kids do. That's why they're called kids and not great humanitarians. And comic books, and those guys who did those comic books were my teachers, and they were my friends. They were my imaginary playmates. So.
Someone's got the Ellison Library.
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind. You're paying $1 a piece. Every time I sign one of my name, the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund gets $1. You realize, of course, we're going to charge you $10 for this interview.
Actually, yeah, I have it right here.
Good. Give it to that woman right there.
But I want 10 signatures. No,
Okay.
just kidding.
Give me 10
Thank you very much.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.